I'd like to call the legislative meeting of the Common Council to order. It's March 2nd. It is 6:30. We'll start with the roll. Mr. Massey?
Present.
Mr. Burr is absent at this time. Mr. Tobin?
Present.
Ms. Ramkissoon? Here. And myself. 4 out of 5. We have a quorum. There are 3 items on this agenda. 2 of them fit the description of some zoning changes. Mr. Smith is here to address them, and I'll invite him to the microphone.
Oh. First of all, none of them are my idea, so
Okay, disclaimer.
I'm happy to tell you what I know about them.
Noted.
The first is the
Talk about North Street.
North Street first? Okay. North Street started as a proposal to the city by somebody that was interested in one of those properties, the property at the north end. They wanted to do some light manufacturing, and we discussed it, and we quickly realized that it is not permitted in the zone that it's in, which is a C1. However, we took a look at the map. There is a nearby strip of properties in C2, which does allow for light manufacturing. We looked at the properties in between, and that created a contiguous strip of what we all felt like. When I say we all, the mayor, myself, Maria Bruni, we felt that that whole area deserved the council's consideration for a rezoning from that C1 strip of 4 or 5 properties into a C2, which would enable a little bit more diverse commercial activity, including light manufacturing. And light manufacturing is defined in our code in the various zones that it's allowed in as certain types of manufacturing, and specifically gives the planning board the power to make that interpretation depending on the kind of use that is applied to the planning board for permission. So it's a broad definition, obviously, but it's something that the council has previously given the planning board the authority to interpret in the other zones, and we believe that that should carry on here. So we felt that even though the person who initially had applied to us showing interest in that one parcel, that person, as I understand, has withdrawn. I believe it was the mayor's idea to actually keep the application, in a sense, going to convert that strip from a C1 to a C2, and it would just make sense for the neighborhood, and I think the administration is all in agreement on that.
Okay, you introduced.
But I'll make it clear that there is no pending application that I know of for anything on these properties.
So you introduced the conversation that it wasn't your idea. It's not that you oppose it, it just didn't happen to be your idea.
Wasn't my idea.
Mr. Mayor, would you care to elaborate in any way on this proposal for zoning change?
Well, I don't know. I came in the middle of Alex's comments, but basically, if it was a good idea to do when we had a project to change the zoning, why wouldn't it be good to do when the project pulled out? So we did a lot of analysis of it's only a few properties, and made sense. So we feel it would be more attractive to bringing something into those properties than making it viable. And that was the intent of the zoning change request.
I'm going to go around the table, starting with committee members. Ms. Ramkissoon, any questions or comments? We're good, kind of vanilla flavor. Mr. Tobin?
No questions.
Mr. Massey?
No questions.
Yeah, the rest of the council, Mr. Kleiner?
No, I'll trust the judgment of the mayor and Maria and Alex on this.
Write that down. Jean-Francois? Mr. Green?
All good.
Council President, any comments?
I'm good.
Thumbs up, we're good. So as we conduct these hearings this evening, if they pass, there'll be a public hearing on March 16th at 8 p.m. to get public approval or public input on it. All right, in a similar vein, we have another zoning change. Mr. Smith, you're back up. Regarding commercial bakery.
And this idea also stems from a private application, which I believe is still viable, to put a bakery in, I believe it's the Upper North Street area.
Which one? That's Burr? Oh,
Okay, Wickham Avenue?
give it to Kleiner. Kleiner.
Okay. And we looked at it, and we thought that the smartest way to do it would be to handle it from a citywide perspective and rezone the light industrial area to allow specifically for a bakery. We looked at the various permitted uses in that zone now and saw no reason why we shouldn't suggest as an administration to the council, while we're considering this one single application, there's absolutely no reason that we could see to not include the definition of a bakery as a permitted use in all light industrial zoning districts in the city. And that's basically where we're at.
Also, sounds pretty simple at the outset. No unintended consequences, I'm assuming. I'm going to do the same protocol. Ms. Ramkasoon, questions or comments?
No, I have the utmost faith in Mr.
Wow, we're in a good mood today. Mr. Tobin?
No, I mean, if it's near the railroad, it probably was light industrial, right, at some point anyway, right? Near the railroad.
Yeah, the railroad is. This is a little different than the previous one. The previous one was a zone change. This is adding a use into the industrial, light industrial or industrial zone. And, we can't cover every scenario for a use where the law can outline it. Why a bakery would not be permitted in an industrial use is beyond me, but it is along the railroad bed.
Thank you, Mayor. I stand corrected. It's not a change. It's an expansion of eligibility. Mr. Massey, any questions or comments?
No, I'm in favor.
Same protocol. Mr. Kleiner?
No, we'll have a public hearing, so if anyone has a good reason why not, I hope we'll hear it then.
Thank you. Mr. Jean-Francois?
As much as I love baked bread, I'm all for it.
Double, making a bigger bakery. Okay. Mr. Green? And Council President?
Do we sell guns in light industrial?
There's a question from the floor regarding selling firearms in light industrial.
Well, maybe I should put it this way. The bakery will be a bakery. People will not be living in the bakery. Even Mr. Francois does not want to live in a bakery. At least I don't think he does.
But there might be a weapon in a loaf of bread. You never know.
It might be hard enough to hit him with it.
All righty, not hearing any, I think we're good. This leaves us a little bit of time to readdress. We had a conversation about electricians' licenses, which basically focused on the idea of allowing people with reciprocal authority to purchase a license good for the year rather than on a per-project basis. I've done some independent research, and I have been reminded that it's our purview. We could do, as a council, we could do whatever we want. Electricians are not licensed by the state. They're licensed by the municipality on a town-by-town basis. We could open it up, we could close it up, we could charge X, we could charge Y. I know in some of my independent research, I learned that in Newburgh, it's $1,000 per project, and sometimes it takes a month or two to get approved.
Port Jervis.
Port Jervis, sorry, which it may facilitate the concept of a little bit of a closed shop. Let's discourage people that aren't with us to be with us. I don't know. That's an interpretation I heard about. Mr. Rodriguez, would you care to readdress your thoughts and why you think this is a good idea, and what are the parameters of change that you would like to see?
Well, no, I just like to, again, say the same thing, is open it up to outside people, some in Middletown, some in Wallkill. I think the open market is great. And I'm still, I'm okay with opening, more for business. We don't go down North Street and say how many barbershops we're allowed to have, or bakeries, or restaurants. So if people are qualified, they should be eligible.
Okay. If you remember the last discussion with the committee, everybody was in agreement that more competition was good and that we could proceed with changing these regulations. Mr. Mayor, would you care to comment?
Yes, sir.
Well, just a reminder that all restaurants get licenses, all bakeries meet certain standards. You have health standards that are uniform standards. At the last meeting, you had some misinformation that there was a limit, or not a limit, there were a limited amount of electrical licenses available. I believe there's well over 100 people licensed, electrical licenses in the city of Middletown, well over 100. I think on the number chart of numbers issued was like 130 or something like that. And there might have been someone who turned in over the years, but it's lengthy. It's not this is not the plumbing board. I'm adamantly opposed to changing the standards. I think the system is working. It's one of those things, if it's working, why change it? We don't have anyone complaining, to my knowledge, that the license, that the application or the process is unfair. It is pretty standardized. It was a little bit different than the plumbing license where there was a lot of subjectivity to it. Don't forget that we inspect plumbing, but electrical licensing or electrical work, we do not inspect. That's inspected by the underwriters group. So we need to have a high standard. And if somebody makes a bad connection on your water, you're going to get a leak. Someone who is not properly licensed and doesn't have the experience that we would want hooks up your pool, you're going to cause a death. And so I think there are many differences, and I don't see the need to change the system. If we had circumstances such as the plumbing licenses where we had a handful where people were complaining about the market, that people felt that they were getting gouged by electricians, we don't see it. We don't get the complaints. There's no consumer complaints. There's nothing there that merits making a change, in my opinion.
Thank you. Point and counterpoint. Mr. Massey.
Well, I think the last count, I believe I'm correct, but I might be off a little bit. I think the number is 138 licenses. I checked with John, and I haven't heard of any, as the mayor was saying, complaints. Has anyone not been able to get work done? I personally would keep it the same. Keep what we have. When I go to my doctor, in fact, I have to go next week, and he looks at it and he says, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And he keeps the medication the same, even though I want him to change it. But no, I'm in agreement. If there were a bunch of complaints or we had people that were looking for work that couldn't find and we had to open it up, that would be fine. But I think with 138 licenses out there, I think we're fine, in my opinion. Thank you.
I would also point out another fact that you might consider is after our lengthy deliberations on the plumbers, there were no new plumbers that applied for work in the city of Middletown since we changed that. So I'm a Gemini. It's the curse of the Gemini. You could say, well, yes, have more competition, but you have 130 people. Isn't that competition? If I don't like the price, the council president, I discussed this earlier, if you only have 6 plumbers, fixing the price is a lot more feasible than if you have 130 electricians to fix a price for something. Doesn't mean it can't happen. I could go either way on the matter. I'm going to go around the table, starting with Ms. Ramkasoon.
I don't think we have to monkey with something that doesn't appear to have an issue in front of it. With the plumbers, we had a concern, and there was a problem presented with, being able to do projects and things of that sort. In this situation, that number of licenses, I don't.
Okay, so if it ain't broke, you know when to fix it.
No reason to mess with something that already
Okay,
works.
Mr. Kleiner.
I guess I agree with that. As I said last time, if we were going to change it, I'd like to hear from the electricians and the electrical licensing board and see.
Well,
What
let me
they're-
just interrupt you. I did speak with Mr. Murtaugh.
Okay?
He's one of the people that said, council, you can do whatever you want. Doesn't matter to him. That was a private conversation. He said, you're empowered. You could change it. You could make it bigger. You could make it smaller. I'm also told he sits on the board in Port Jervis as well, which I found to be just an interesting tidbit. But he said, council, do whatever you want.
Okay. One other comment I would make is that the plumbers deal with more than water. They deal with gas. They deal with carbon monoxide. So there is also a danger after the plumbers leave their work, too. That's all. Thank you.
Point well taken. Mr. Jean-Francois.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. If there's no issues that we have at a particular time, I don't see no reason why we should look into it. If the numbers are good, nothing is happening.
Fix it.
Let's keep it moving.
Okay. Mr. Massey has spoken. Mr.
I've
Philbin?
spoken already. Thank you.
Well, the one question are the electricians mainly handling like big jobs? Like what if someone wants a ceiling fan in or something smaller? Is this something that the electricians on the list would do, or is it mostly like big contracting electricians?
Mr. Mayor?
Like I'm thinking of the little guy that wants a,
You have a wide range of electrical people, contractors. You have sole proprietors who do side jobs or small jobs, to the Rotolos, the union companies, Nap Electric, Pantel, who do the large jobs and focus mostly on commercial. But there are plenty of small electrical contractors around, including individuals who are licensed, that handle the household stuff.
I guess that was my only fear, is that like someone couldn't get one of those big guys and then get someone that's not, and then that could lead to problems too, because.
I'm sure people are getting unlicensed people to do work also, but it's a matter of, we have adequate, in my opinion, adequate amount of people, and that's not frozen at that number.
Right.
More people can come and take the test and get qualified. It's not like we're saying that you can only have X amount of restaurants or X amount of barbershops. We're not saying that. You can have 1,000 electricians if they want to come in and be tested and apply the standards that we have. So there's no limitation on the amount that we have.
Just have to get our tests.
They just have to take our test and go by our standards.
It really is a question of the reciprocity type arrangement. Mr. Green?
Thank you. I'm all for competition, but over 130 licenses sounds like we already got it. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Council President, last bite at the apple.
I'd submit it to the committee, let the committee decide what they want to do. The licensed electricians are still licensed. They take out permits to do big jobs. They pay $750. They're licensed electricians. Plumbers, I've been on the council 17 years. I haven't seen a plumber inspector. How long, Jerry? We had part-time plumbing inspectors, but there's been.
We've had full-time plumbing inspectors.
So
I can get the list for you if you want.
We don't inspect every job
I didn't say we did.
by
You asked-
plumbers. I'm speaking, Mr. Massey.
I know, but
So
I'm in charge of that.
So basically, electricians get inspected all the time by the underwriters. Again, I have nothing. I brought it to the committee, let it sit in the committee. If you guys want to kill it, kill it. I don't care. But I think it's fair to open it up. Port Jervis raised from $750 to $1,000. Now, when John does the fee schedule, he'll say, let's raise it because we raised it from Newburgh $750. Now Port Jervis is going to charge $1,000. Let's raise it to $1,000. It's just going to hurt the people that are trying to come in and do business, and that's going to hurt anybody that comes in. It has to pay the $1,000 for every job. So it's a fee schedule.
Okay, and we
Yeah, I
have.
wanna speak
Mr.
again.
Tooele, under the mayor, would you care to?
I can address it.
Okay.
I think you're mixing two issues. One is reciprocal licensing,
Exactly.
and the other is licensing. Reciprocal licensing, we are open to charging the same fee that Port Jervis and Newburgh charge. Newburgh and Port Jervis are escalating their reciprocal license fees, so we do the same. We would prefer that they not do that. But we're not going to be put in a position where an electrician from that's not licensed in the city, but falls under reciprocal licensing, can be undercut our folks on a cheap scale when our folks can't go over to those communities at the same rate. So that's like a little price war, but in no way has anything to do with licensing, because those same people can come over and take the test if they want to. So there's nothing prohibiting them from taking the test. There's no cap, and there's no and I think that the other point that was made about inspections, the fact that we don't have a physical plumbing inspector doesn't mean the place is not being inspected. we absolutely do inspect it, and that comes under Jacob, and I'll let him address that.
Thank you, sir. Jacob, would you care to comment on this discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. Any major plumbing work in the city, they will have to come and take a plumbing permit from us. And then we go inspect, obviously, after the work is done and during the work while it's done. So we have to close that plumbing permit. So they are required to come and get a plumbing permit from us, and we do the
On
inspection
every
after.
project, or just?
On
as a
every
flat?
project, not for replacing a faucet. I mean, for adding a bathroom, for doing major stuff in there, but not for replacing a sink, as an example. If the licensed plumber will go do it, then, he can do it on his own. But it
So
should be licensed plumber.
We changed the law, but we didn't really expand the market. Do you think we met our goal with plumbing? Or you think the city's okay with the number of plumbers that are available?
Yeah, I mean, they're experienced people. Now, the market is open. We opened it for other people to come in and apply for license, and, we haven't had any applicants that I recall. So I don't know what else we can do.
Okay.
I mean, for me, I continue to use city licensed plumbers. I mean, regardless of, because I trust their work, they have the experience, and to be honest, that's from me.
Part of this conversation was the protection opportunity of the consumer. So I just thought the plumbing thing didn't really work out the way we thought it would work out by expanding it, but
They'll come.
they will. Okay.
Oh, absolutely, they will come. It's just a matter of time.
We're good. All right, so yes, Mr. Jean-Francois.
Is our test a lot harder than other places in this area?
It's the electrical same test.
Is it the same test across the board? Or what's making?
It's an agency. It's an agency that will come and do the test.
That over time, it's become like a universal test.
Okay, all right,
It's Prometric. It does the plumbing for us too.
okay.
So the first round, it was kind of like open up the market, competition's good. The second round is kind of reconsidered the issues at hand. Am I correct in assuming from this conversation that we will not proceed with doing any changes for the electrical qualifications? Anybody object to that statement? Not hearing any. I think we'll table that idea. Maybe we'll bring it up again in the future if it seems appropriate. Is there anything else that anybody wants to put before the legislative committee that's not already here? Not hearing anything, I need a motion to close the meeting. And a second? Second. All in favor? And the meeting's now closed at 7:54.